Totipotency is the ability of cells to retain the full genetic potential to regenerate the tissues and organs that make up a new organism under appropriate conditions. It is most commonly seen where vegetative organs such as tubers, storage roots and cuttings are used to propagate plants. Unlike animals, where differentiation is generally irreversible, plants retain the ability to revert to a meristematic state even with highly mature and differentiated cells as long as they have an intact membrane system and a viable nucleus. Except that the cells whose nuclei have started to disintegrate like sieve tube elements and xylem elements or fibers and cells having walls thicker than 2 micrometer like mature tracheids would obviously not divide and do not exhibit totipotency. This degree of regression which a cell can undergo depends on the cytological and physiological state and can be explored to demonstrate totipotency under artificial conditions. The early discoveries on plant tissue culture presented a combination of basic scientific research along with technological innovations owing to the work by Austrian scientist Gottlieb Haberlin. He was the first one to experiment totipotency with isolated cells under artificial conditions in 1902. His work laid down the foundation of tissue culture technique and therefore Haberlin is known as the father of plant tissue culture. He began his investigations with an intention to study the properties and potentialities which the cell as an elementary organism possesses. He isolated palisade and spongy mesophyll parenchyma cells from leaf and transferred them to culture medium containing Knopp's salt solution with additions of sucrose, dextrose, glycerine, asparagine and peptone in various concentrations and combinations. The cultures were maintained in lighted and dark rooms at ambient temperature. During the incubation period, the cultured cells expanded in length and girth and their walls got thickened. Also, the plastids remained green in light, photosynthesized and accumulated starch. But none of the cells divided and the experiment was unsuccessful. The failure of Haberlin's experiment in not able to obtain dividing cells can be attributed to the selection of highly differentiated mature cells and most importantly the use of culture media that lacked growth factors because the growth regulators were not known at that time. It was only later in 1926 when a graduate student from Holland by the name of Fritz Wendt published a report describing the isolation of a plant growth substance by placing agar blocks under coleoptile tips for a period of time, then removing them and placing them on decapitated Avena stems. After placement of the agar block, the decapitated stem resumed growth. Later, in 1928, he developed a method to quantify this plant growth substance. His results suggested that the curvatures of stems were proportional to the amount of growth substance in the agar. This test was called as the Avena curvature test and the growth regulator discovered was named as auxin. Wendt's work tremendously benefited tissue culture studies as it opened the door to bring about regenerative totipotency from isolated plant cells in culture by use of growth regulators. The first step in expression of totipotency is the re-entry of the mature somatic cells into cell cycle and resumption of cell division. This process is known as dedifferentiation, where the cells lose their specific property and start dividing to form undifferentiated mass of cells, which is called as callus. The callus cells gain competence according to the induced conditions and get determined or committed to a particular developmental pathway. Their commitment leads them towards the last step of achieving regeneration totipotency, either by getting them differentiated as bipolar somatic embryos which behave as zygotic embryos, or by forming organs like roots and shoots. The basic event in the development of eukaryotes is the specialization of cells. The sum of developmental processes whereby the unspecialized cells attain their mature form and acquire specialization or possess a character or function different from that of the original cell type is called as cytodifferentiation. In order to unlock the totipotent expression and gain specialization, two groups of growth regulators play an important role. These are auxins and cytokinins. In nature, auxin and cytokinins act as the biological trigger for wound responses. Similarly, in tissue culture, the auxins and cytokinins activate the totipotent manifestation in the cultured cell mass. Auxins like indole 3-acetic acid, 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid or naphthalene acetic acid, and cytokinins like kinetin, zeatin and 6-benzyl aminopurine are essential for in vitro initiation of totipotent expression, followed by development of organized structures. The cells can follow either of the regenerating pathways to express regeneration totipotency. These are organogenesis, where root and shoot regeneration takes place due to unipolar structure formed from callus having a shoot or root apical meristem, and somatic embryogenesis, where bipolar structure is formed from callus which behaves as zygotic embryo having a rooty and a shooty pole. Organogenesis. In this pathway, the meristems are formed due to the competence gained by the cells under the influence of cytokinins. They divide by periclinal and anticlinal divisions, resulting into the formation of dome-shaped shoot meristems, followed by the formation of new procambial strands. The formation of new procambial strands is known as vascular differentiation, and this is the primary event that occurs during cytodifferentiation. During this process, the cells first gain competence, get enlarged in size, followed by secondary wall formation, and finally lignification and autolysis of the cell contents occurs, which leads to the formation of vascular elements. The newly formed strands then connect the new organs to their parent explant or callus mass, ultimately giving rise to shoot regeneration. Similarly, root apical meristems are formed under the influence of auxins, giving rise to root regeneration. Thus, complete plantlet is regenerated from isolated cell mass by the virtue of cell totipotency. Organogenesis is of two types: direct organogenesis and indirect organogenesis. Direct organogenesis leads to the development of organs directly from the explant cells. In this case, the cells exhibit the regeneration totipotency bypassing the callus phase. On the other hand, in indirect organogenesis, the explant cells first dedifferentiate and multiply to form callus, followed by induction of shoot and root meristems from the undifferentiated mass of cells. On comparing both the type of organogenesis, the regeneration of plantlets through direct organogenesis occurs rapidly as compared to indirect organogenesis, because an intervening callus phase exists, which enhances the time period for total plant regeneration. But on the other hand, high frequency multiple number of plantlets can be regenerated through indirect organogenesis due to the availability of huge mass of cells which is obtained in the form of callus. The growth regulators are key factors in achieving the organogenic regeneration. The cultures are usually transferred onto low or zero auxin media to permit or speed up shoot organogenesis. Cytokinins promote outgrowth of shoots but are normally kept at very low concentrations as compared to auxin when root regeneration is desired. The first observations of in vitro somatic embryogenesis were made in Docus carota, commonly known as carrot, by Jacob Reinert and F. C. Stewart in 1958. The embryogenic callus comprise of cells which are small, angular, have small vacuoles, many starch grains, high density of ribosomes, numerous profiles of rough endoplasmic reticulum, and spherosome-like vesicles. Once the cells gain competence, the embryogenic clumps develop mature embryoids when transferred to a medium with a very low level of auxin or no auxin at all. At this stage, the embryos which are determinant for formation of embryos sustain their small size and rich cytoplasm and enter into further stages of maturation. They acquire various shapes as globular shapes, then heart shape, followed by torpedo shape embryos, and finally cotyledonary shape bipolar units are formed, which on germination give rise to full plantlets on providing suitable culture conditions. Somatic embryogenesis is of two types: direct somatic embryogenesis and indirect somatic embryogenesis. When the embryos are formed directly from a cell or a small group of cells without the production of an intervening callus, it is called as direct somatic embryogenesis. This type of embryogenesis is generally obtained from the explants which possess pre-embryogenic determinant cells, PEDC. Such PEDCs are found in embryogenic tissues. For example, the embryo sac tissues within ovules behave as PEDCs and resume their embryogenic potential during culture and rapidly form somatic embryos. In indirect somatic embryogenesis, the cells of the explant first form callus and then embryoids are produced from the callus tissue. This type of embryogenesis is generally obtained from induced embryogenic determined cells IEDC like root, stem, leaf, etc. These type of cells require redetermination to the embryogenic state by exposure of somatic cells to specific growth regulators like 2,4-D. Under the influence of auxins, the cells undergo dedifferentiation by losing their specific properties and form callus. Then later these cells acquire embryogenic potential and differentiate to form embryos. As we have already discussed that the vascular differentiation is the primary event which occurs during cytodifferentiation. So, the factors which affect vascular differentiation qualitatively as well as quantitatively are of prime importance. Two substances that have a profound effect on vascular tissue differentiation are auxin and sucrose. Wetmore and Sorokin in 1955 confirmed the role of some diffusible chemical as the stimulus for vascular tissue differentiation, which was found to be growth regulator auxin. They found the appearance of vascular elements in undifferentiated callus of Syringa vulgaris when a vegetative bud with its ends cut in the form of wedge shape was inserted into the callus. The results indicated the influence of auxins present in the vegetative bud which got diffused from the cut end into the callus cells, leading to vascular element differentiation. Cytokinins, another plant growth regulator, is also known to influence tertiary element differentiation. Foskett and Torre in 1969 reported a stimulatory effect of cytokinin on xylogenesis in cotyledonary callus cultures of soybean, and since then numerous reports are established which suggest the involvement of auxin and cytokinin in the differentiation of tertiary elements. However, the absolute concentration of the two hormones in the culture medium play a critical role, and it has now been established that a high ratio of cytokinin to auxin favors shoot production, whereas a high auxin to cytokinin ratio favors root production. Intermediate level of both hormones enhance callus formation. The effect of auxin on vascular tissue differentiation was found to be closely dependent on the presence of sugar. It was observed that the relative amounts of xylem and phloem differentiation formed in callus species of Syringa vulgaris and Phaseolus vulgaris could be changed by varying the sucrose concentration in the presence of a low concentration of auxin. Jeffs and Northcote tested a variety of sugars in the presence of an auxin and observed that besides sucrose, the disaccharides maltose and trehalose were also effective in stimulating tertiary elements differentiation in Phaseolus callus. Besides growth regulators and sucrose, few other factors also govern vascular differentiation. Recent studies using Xenia system have highlighted the importance of calcium in tertiary element differentiation. Roberts and Hegler in 1990 observed that calcium deprivation or application of calcium channel blockers or calmodulin antagonists also inhibited tertiary element differentiation. The biochemical events leading to the formation of secondary wall thickening and lignification also play a role in tertiary element differentiation. However, much reports are not available, but still the role of soluble and wall-bound peroxidase enzymes which catalyze the polymerization of aromatic alcohols significantly affected the lignification of cells in vitro. Also, the secondary wall thickening was found to be a result of an increase in the production of cellulose and hemicellulose and a cessation of pectin synthesis. It has been observed that in Helianthus, no differentiation of vascular elements occurred at a temperature below 17 degrees centigrade, and on increasing the temperature within the range of 17 to 31 degrees centigrade enhances xylem formation. Hence, temperature seems to have a profound effect on vascular element differentiation. Light in its quantity and quality is also reported to stimulate vessel differentiation in several species. Similarly, wound stress is also reported to be another physical factor essential for the induction of tertiary elements, especially in the cultures of Xenia. The age of the explant also affects vascular differentiation. In Xenia cultures, the cells harvested from old leaves divided but did not differentiate into tertiary elements as compared to the cells derived from younger leaves. Also, direct differentiation of cells into tertiary elements was observed in those explants which were taken from the immature tubers of Helianthus tuberosus. This capacity declined with the age of tuber, and in mature tubers, very few mesophyll cells differentiated into tertiary elements. Cellular totipotency is an important attribute of plant cells. A potentially very important application of cellular totipotency is in rapid multiplication of elite individuals of a wide range of plant species. Successful in vitro regeneration has been standardized for rare plant species like Drosera, ornamental plants like chrysanthemums, dianthus, orchids, etc., fruit crops like strawberries, apple, etc., many important agricultural crops like banana and plantains and abaca, etc. For high yielding crops, large scale production of somatic embryos and their conversion into synthetic seeds have also been established. Haberland's totipotency was also well explored by scientists in various types of plant cells. For example, Sipra Guha and S.C. Maheshwari in 1962 brought a remarkable breakthrough in plant tissue culture by discovering totipotency in haploid pollen cells. From their experiment, it was found that the normal course of in vivo pollen development could be diverted to in vitro, and instead of gametophyte formation, embryoids or callus production can be obtained. These haploid embryoids on germination gave rise to haploid plants. Similar pathway was also obtained for the triploid endosperm cells, which generated triploid plants. Improvement of crop plants was further obtained through manipulations at the cellular level by fusing protoplasts, leading to somatic hybridization, mutation of isolated single cells, and genetic transformation. All this was made possible only due to the establishment of regenerative totipotency from somatic plant cells. The regeneration of whole organism is based on the concept of totipotency, which recommends that all plant cells, if given the correct stimuli, express the total genetic potential of the parent plant. Plant cell culture provides the most fascinating evidence for this concept by establishing wide range of applications including basic research, micropropagation, germplasm conservation, and formation of genetically modified plants. Since the first experiment laid down by Haberlin, plant tissue culture technique has been used for mass production of many crops and has greatly contributed to successful agricultural yield.